So we're going to do example number 1 now. And what example number 1 is asking, it says, given the measure of angle GPK equals 100 degrees, that's a degree symbol, find the missing angle measures. So when this 100 degrees is written in here, that's saying, well, this angle right there measures 100 degrees. Sometimes when we're talking about angles, it's helpful to think about a big circle. And you can just use a cup or something and just take a pencil and draw a circle on your problem. It doesn't have to be perfect, okay? And I want you to just be thinking about how we said, when we're measuring degrees, you can think of it a little bit like a clock that has 360 little different segments, okay? Now, these aren't obviously enough, but if we were to write it correctly with 360 little segments equally around the circle, we could count up 100. That's how many would fit between this hand and this hand, if you're thinking about it like a clock. And here's the center of a clock, okay? Now, the other thing I want to point out is the notation. This little m always means the measure, okay? This little m means the measure. And when we're naming angles, we're always using these end points with the middle letter always the center. That's a P right there, okay? So which angle is the measure of angle KPH? Well, here's KPH. So the next one that we need to look at for the measure of angle KPH, they want to know, what's this angle measure, okay? Whenever you're doing these problems, I want you to always write in when you figure out any angles, because the more information you write on your figure, the better you're going to be able to solve the missing pieces. It's a little bit like a puzzle. Now remember, in our definitions, we learned about vertical angles. And when angles are directly opposite each other, they are congruent or equal. So we looked at these little angles up here, but there's also big angles that we didn't talk about that are also opposite each other, okay? Here's the one opposite that big angle, and they also are equal or congruent. And if you look at this picture, then you look at this picture, they look a lot alike, don't they? There's two lines that cross. Here, this big angle is 100 degrees. So if this big angle is 100 degrees, then we know this big angle opposite, which is its vertical angle, is also 100 degrees. So we always want to just write that in when we know that. The next thing that I wanted you to notice is that if we're looking for this missing angle, sometimes it's helpful to find a straight line. We learned that angles on a straight line are always supplementary. That means they always are 180 degrees. We said that this gold angle and the purple angle, if we add up the measure, that would equal 180 degrees. So for this big angle and the little angle, because they're on a straight line, we know they have to add up to 180 degrees. They're supplementary, okay? We already used up 100 degrees here for the big angle, so we'll subtract that 100 degrees. And when we do that subtraction, we have 80 degrees left for those angles on a straight line. So we know that this smaller angle has to be 80 degrees. Okay? Now, we'll go ahead and fill that in as soon as we know it. This is 80 degrees. What's the next question? The measure of angle LPH. Here's angle LPH. We'll find that L. There's that P in the middle. That's our vertex in the middle. And then here's H. So the angle that they are looking for here, measure of angle LPH, we already found out because it's a vertical angle, is 100 degrees. Okay? Our last angle, measure of angle GPL. Well, let's find our G. There's our G, P, L. So they're looking for this other small angle. Well, how do we get that? Well, there's another angle opposite it, okay? That's 80 degrees. So this angle, because there's two lines that intersect and they are directly opposite each other, these are vertical angles. And we know that all vertical angles are equal or congruent. Okay? So if this angle is 80 degrees, then this angle has to be the same, or 80 degrees. Okay? We fill this in. That's how we're going to work these problems. All right, thanks guys.